Hi, welcome to Jesus on the Fly. We're going to keep talking about the temptation of Jesus. We're in Matthew 4 today. So,
Yep.
Jesus on the Fly, once again, just looking at the words and actions of Jesus as he goes out and applying them to our own life in a non-intimidating way.
Right.
All right, I'm going to read, right? It's my turn to read, Dave. All right.
Yes.
Matthew 4, verses 5 through 11. 5 through 11. This is where the devil is tempting Jesus in the desert, in the wilderness. Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on the pinnacle of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." Jesus said to him, "Again, it is written, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test." Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And he said to them, "All these I will give you if you will fall down and worship me." Then Jesus said to him, "Be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only shall you serve." Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. Okay, Dave. Thoughts?
All right.
Jesus on the Fly. What
Well,
sticks out?
this is like clearly a spiritual battle, and we also have a dog battle
I
going
know.
on. I'm sorry about that.
Jeez.
Jonah, can you take care of the dog battle, please?
We also have a sick child home today. Wow. Oh, no. Our life just got interesting.
It's Jesus on the Fly. It's also like right in the middle of a, family zone here.
Real and authentic, right? Okay.
All right.
Temptation of Jesus. What sticks
All right,
out, Dave,
boom.
here?
I mean, just the word pinnacle,
Oh.
it's a really kind of like weird word as far as, it's the top point. Kind of reminds me of like a church steeple or something where he's at the pinnacle.
I feel like the devil is battling us right now.
It
like
is.
he doesn't
It's
want
like,
us to have
I
this
know.
whole Jesus
It's
on the Fly.
happening right now.
Okay, but the pinnacle is a steep point. I mean, I think there's something about the word pinnacle that it's so fancy. It's like
Yeah,
really fancy.
right.
Like the devil isn't just like, I took him up to a high place. No, it's very like devilish to be like, I took him to the fanciest place and the best
Yeah.
and the most amazing.
Yeah,
like
the temple, not just like a high mountain. It's like this is the temple.
it is the
right?
the pinnacle of the temple, huh?
Right.
Whoa, I totally missed that. So the temple is where the Jewish believers worshipped at that time, like the people of God. And so that is pretty interesting that it's not just like he took them to a mountain. He took them to the holy place, like the place of worship to tempt him instead of just taking him out into creation or something. Like that seems really important. Can you say more about that, Dave?
I mean, it's about, I think even though we have our church and we know it's a place where we, get fed spiritually, like it does turn into that idol sometimes of the building and the whole like
The
empire
structure.
we have as a church. If you have a big like mega church, it's like this empire of even sometimes political like overtones and things like that are really tied into the world more than the spiritual part of it.
Yeah, we forget that
And
Jesus
so,
doesn't, his kingdom, like we talked about at confirmation actually, but like his kingdom isn't going to look like reigning on high, taking over. And so the church will never look like it's
Right.
taking over.
It's kind of like some people believe, not Lutherans, as far as I believe anyway, that Jesus is going to come back in the end and set up this like rule on earth. And that a lot of times that's just misinterpreted from Revelation where it says, yeah, Jesus will reign for 1,000 years. But like, we take that as he's reigning now, like in our spiritual understanding of what that says in Revelation. But anyway, the point being that it's almost like Satan is tempting him to do that very thing and to be like, hey, let's just rule the world. Let's just do it now.
It's like not the Force Awakens. It's like The Last Jedi when Kylo Ren and
I'm already
Rey,
excited
like,
about this one, Melissa.
Kylo Ren turns to Rey because she like kills Emperor Snoke or whatever. Spoiler,
yes,
right?
exactly.
And then he turns to her and he's like, "This is it. We can do this together.
Yeah, together. Like, let's do it.
Let's
like,
rule
let's
the
take
world."
over.
And the reality
Empire.
is like that. And she's like, no, like when confronted with it, and that's Jesus. Like, no, this
Right,
isn't the
right,
way it's
right.
supposed to be. We're not going to do this. This
Yeah.
is not the light.
It's just like Darth Vader and like Luke Skywalker's like hanging on, and he's like, "Together we can rule the
That's
galaxy,"
true. Yeah.
And it's like that's exactly what the temptation of Jesus is. Yeah, he could have ruled the galaxy, like the
But
world, but he's like, no, that's not what's going on here, devil. And,
Right. I have to say, since I'm also wearing a Star Wars shirt and it says The Last Jedi, that,
Nice.
that we are not representatives of
Okay.
like George Lucas
right,
or
no.
any Lucasfilms things. but-
Disclaimer.
I know, right? Anyway, but I think it's interesting how that's so true of what happens with biblical stuff and the Bible, and what God teaches is we see it represented in other ways in like the secular world, because these are truths. These are timeless truths. And to some degree, like a lot of that is written on our conscience, that we know eternity is written in our heart. But at the same time, it's really interesting to see where people also like actually are connecting the Bible, maybe, like consciously, and then a lot of times we're not. These are just timeless truths. The Bible, however, is always true 100% of the time, and the place we go to learn. Like Star Wars will never
Yeah.
teach us the difference between good and evil. I mean, it's like really
Yeah.
great, but it
Right.
doesn't teach us,
And we know that, when Jesus is coming up against the devil, he's quoting Bible passages. He's using the word as his source
Right.
of truth and power. And so that's how Jesus, comes at things as well.
Right.
Not just, he's not like, well, let me just use my inner, power of juice and just, defeat the devil. No,
That's
he's
true.
like,
There's no
"No,
mysterious
I'm gonna-
force." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to tap into actual, real God's word power.
Right.
And
Right. So
it's kind of interesting. I mean, Jesus could have just said no, but
right,
he says...
he actually answers.
Yeah, and
which is the way
gives
Jesus
us
is
an
with
example.
us too. Like so often, God could give us a pat answer, and instead, he works in our lives. He shows us. He spends time with us. He invites us to like ask him questions in the Word in our time with him and with one another. So, and the next one, I think it's interesting because Jesus says, you won't put the Lord to the test, and then Satan, he just flat out says, I'm going to give you all this if you'll worship me. Like, good try, Satan. Like, did he think that was going to go over? Like, I just can't
Yeah.
imagine that Satan, I think it shows his limited power because, like, he had to have known. Like, Jesus is not going to be like, okay, sure, I'll worship you, Satan. You know what I mean? Like, why did he even ask that?
Yeah.
It just
I don't-
seems
yeah.
like
What do
dumb.
yeah.
It's just like a dumb
I
move.
think the devil is stupid. I mean, and that's why it's so easy to defeat him. I mean, he's super crafty. I get that.
Crafty.
He's
Good
crafty,
word.
but he's also like
Dumb.
he's also dumb, and he's easy to like. You just look at a Bible passage and like boom, you just squashed his lie.
Ooh, that's good.
And he's pretty sneaky. But if we look, if we just like let's examine God's word for like 2 seconds, like if we are familiar, the more familiar with the scriptures are, the more easy it is to just
Pull
here's
something
Acts, just pull something out. I know that's kind of hard for a lot of people because they feel like, man, I just don't know enough about the Bible.
But just opening it
and all that
like
stuff,
will
but-
defeat him, I think. Like we don't even have to know the thing to say to him. Like I think that's where we get trapped up sometimes. Like just open the word and God will
Yeah.
show us. Like the image that comes to mind is like when we need to kill a spider. Like what do? You find a shoe or a giant book and you just like squash the spider. And so
Right.
like that is how like God, what God offers us with Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just open the Bible and like start taking it in. We don't
Yeah.
even. I mean, obviously, there's
Yeah.
it's a lot of words.
I just feel like
and some parts are weird,
it's
but
easier to defeat the devil than we think. We think that he's so powerful and
Yeah.
he's just like, oh man, I have this like terrible
Right.
temptations all the time, and we do, but it's something that we can handle.
Right.
There's no temptation that we can't bear.
Right. And it does say, like, Jesus says, it is written. That's his response every time. It is written. So we're almost out of time. The last thing, and this is the part I just wanted to point out, like, is verse 11. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and were ministering to him. Like, God ministers to us because it isn't easy. Like, all that we're talking about like confronting Satan and like spiritual battles and like all that stuff is part of life, and it's not going to be easy. My mom used to always say, like, anything worth doing isn't easy, Heidi. You know, I always wanted it to be easier. And I think that applies to everything, but certainly spiritual life. Like, why do we so much want easy when, like, rich and deep and, you know, that relationship with God and what he's forming is so much better than easy. So, but I love that God ministers to us.
To get through the struggle. Well, I was thinking Jesus is continually, you know, he was just baptized, and now he's being tempted by the devil, and he's really an example for us, even though obviously we can't be Jesus, but he is like the angels attending to him. It just reminds me of like the Christian church, like
that's a good,
ministering
that's a good
to
word
each
to
other,
leave on.
like ministering, like that's people, you know, just it just draws that right to the front. I think that we stick together, you know, we help each other.
We're the sheep in the herd, right? The third graders told us that today. We're the sheep in the herd. So
we are,
awesome.
And we're all together,
in it together. Jesus is in there with us, and like only by his power can we defeat, you know, the devil and the things that he would throw at us. So, all right, Jesus on the fly. Right. We'll see you next time. We'll move on to Matthew chapter 5.
See you later.
See you next time.